Hey, what's up, everybody? It's News from Heaven. Don't take the Bible literally when it says that the world is going to end. The world's not going to end. The world is not going to end. There are some people that think that the world is going to end, that the planet Earth is going to be destroyed or explode or vaporize. And do you know who's going to do it? God. People think that God, who made the earth and everything else, is going to come on down and scoop some people up and then lay some kind of divine H-bomb, and then that's going to be it. Everything is going to be destroyed. And people really, really think this. There is a major highway that runs through the city of Philadelphia called I-95, and I used to, this was about probably 5, 6, 7, I don't know how to keep track of how long years are anymore, but about that long ago, every time I'd drive by, there was this big billboard that said, Judgment Day, October 22nd, 2015 or something. That's when the world is going to end. Because there was this guy who had a radio show, big radio show, I think it was called Family Radio or something, it was Christian radio show, and he believed, figured out when the Bible said that this end of the world was going to happen. I don't know what he did, carry the one, somehow found what he felt like were clues that were pointing right to that. So he and all of his followers went outside and stood in the street and thought, this is the time when Jesus is going to come and the world's going to be over. Nice knowing you. But it didn't happen. It didn't happen. And everybody made fun of them. I kind of felt sorry for the guy at the time, but his followers had sold their stuff, a lot of them, and severed ties and messed up their lives because they thought that it was God's plan that there was going to be the end of life. It was going to be done. The fact that there are people that believe this is a symptom of a problem. Believing that the world is going to end is a symptom of an underlying problem. Believing that the world is going to end has a couple of negative consequences to it. It makes it so you just act like and believe that life is disposable and that what we're building in civilization, human relations, doesn't matter that much because God is going to come down and destroy it. It is a symptom of a problem, and the problem is that people don't know the nature of God. They don't know what God's personality is like, who God actually is. And they also don't know what the Bible is, what the nature of this text is, what its intent is, and how it speaks to us. And if you don't know those things, you could read something like this and start to believe that the world is going to end. This is from Matthew 24. And yeah, it does sound a little apocalyptic on first glance. Immediately after the suffering of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light, and the stars will fall from heaven, and the power of the heavens will be shaken. And then the sign of the Son of Humanity will appear in heaven. And then all the tribes of the earth, that's us, will lament, and they will see the Son of Humanity coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he will send his angels with a trumpet and a loud voice, and they will gather his chosen ones from the four winds, from one end of the heavens, all the way to the other end. Yeah, it sounds a little world-endy. But if you examine it, you understand quickly that this cannot be a literal description of the end of the physical world. Sure, I'll give you the sun being darkened. That would be a big deal. I don't know how you would get a star like that to end without just novaing and exploding everything, but let's say somehow it could just, its nuclear fission or whatever it does in there, just winks out. Yeah, that would mean the moon doesn't give its light because the moon's light comes from the sun. And the stars will fall from heaven. The stars are going to fall from heaven? The stars are going to fall from heaven. What is falling to a star? What direction is down to a star? Also, a star is going to fall into the earth? It's just like the scale difference. The star wouldn't even notice the earth if it went plowing through it. And if those stars are going to fall to the earth, they better get going because they are hundreds of thousands and millions of years away, even traveling at amazing speeds. It should be that the James Webb telescope should see those things rushing toward us if they're going to make any kind of good time for this end of the world to happen. But it never happens. That one prophecy of the end of the world I told you about with the billboard, that was just one of hundreds and hundreds of predictions of when the world is going to end. There's a website that tallies this, and like every year since Jesus said this stuff, people have thought, oh, this is the year. Perhaps this is not talking about something physical. Perhaps it's talking about something spiritual. And if we know the nature of God, and if we know the nature of what the Bible is, then we can begin to understand the meaning of Jesus' words, and not just the words themselves. And the nature of God, that God does not destroy things. God is not a destroyer of things. God is the creator and sustainer. God is love. Love is not a destroyer of things. Love is a creator and sustainer of things. All of the destruction that we see in life, yes, there's destruction all over the place. That comes from evil. Destruction comes from evil. The only way evil comes about is when we choose it, when we choose it and love it and make it and bring it into existence that way. God never creates evil. So God is not going to send a message that says, I'm going to destroy you or the place that you live or this plane of existence. And the Bible is an instruction manual from the creator and sustainer as to how to live the life that leads to heaven. God created the universe so that people could be brought into the state of happiness and peace and following of the divine that's called heaven. The Bible in its entirety is the instruction manual on how to get there. If this was just about a single literal event, the Bible would be barely useful at all, or this part of it, to somebody who lived in, let's say you lived in the year 612 AD, and you read this, and this was some prophecy of what was going to happen at least thousands of years in front of you, because it hasn't happened yet. It doesn't look like it's about to happen anytime soon. How does that give you anything by which you can live a life? Jesus is always talking about repent, take up your cross, do things, change the way you live. How is this going to change the way you live? Just have it as kind of trivia in your mind. Is the word of God just trivia that doesn't apply? The intent of the divine is to bring everyone into the happiness that is called heaven. So, the word that comes from God has to function as something that can, in every detail, lead somebody into heaven at all times. So this has to have a spiritual meaning that's in it. And that is exactly what Swedenborg focuses on here. This is the beginning of his book, Heaven and Hell. And he starts by saying, look, people think that the world is going to end because of passages like these. But that comes from this misunderstanding of who God is and what the word is that we're trying to correct. Talking about people who believe in back a couple hundred years ago, people were thinking the same way, and Swedenborg addresses them when he says, many people in the church these days are of this opinion, that the world's going to end. However, people who believe such things are not aware of the hidden depths that lie within the details of the word. There is, in fact, spiritual meaning in these details, for they do not intend the outward and earthly events that we find on the literal level. Instead, they intend spiritual and heavenly events. This holds true not just for the meaning of phrases, but even for each word. Spiritual and heavenly events are those that occur inside human beings and can happen to you and me, to groups of us, anytime, any place. They describe cycles that repeat and things that are always true. Everything that God speaks is always true. So what is he saying? Because it's not like Jesus is not saying anything. What is he saying when he uses this apocalyptic imagery? What could be going so wrong that it's described like he describes it? The word is in fact written, so those words from Jesus are in fact written in pure correspondences, so that there may be deeper meaning in the details. Correspondences means that there is a universal symbolic language in which Jesus speaks, and every part of the Bible speaks. That's why it is an important document. The importance in it lies in the fact that it's got a literal meaning, which has these words that describe these, sometimes vague, sometimes seems like they have a moral in there, but sometimes bizarre and sometimes violent. You have all these storylines that go. The reason why that's from God and why that's holy and worth noting and worth living your life by is because it holds a spiritual meaning inside of it, because each word, each phrase has a spiritual counterpart. And so now we're going to see exactly what the spiritual counterparts are to this section we just read here. And if you want to know more about this stuff, Swedenborg gives you some handy references here of where to study correspondences more. Questions about the nature of this meaning can be resolved by all the things I have set forth about it in Secrets of Heaven. A selection of these may be found also in my explanation of the white horse in the book of Revelation. It's a book actually called White Horse. So we've got correspondences. You can read up on them more. For now, just know that there is a symbolism. Everything Jesus is saying about something physical actually has a meaning about something spiritual. It is in this deeper sense that we are to understand what the Lord said in the passage just cited about coming in the clouds of heaven. Yeah, what are you talking about? The sun that will be darkened means the Lord in respect to love, and the moon means the Lord in respect to faith. So the sun has to do with our reception of God. God is like the sun. This is what a correspondence is, that there are physical things that are like spiritual things. So just like the sun sends out this energy that we receive as light and heat that allows us to exist. Without the sun's light powering photosynthesis, there would be no biosphere, no food chains. And without the sun's heat, Earth would not be in the habitable zone. Nothing would be going on without those. So God sends out this energy of love, which we receive as love and truth. So when the sun is dark, that is when any one of us or a group of us together stop receiving that love from God. Meaning, we don't when those impulses come in to do what is right, we don't value those. We freely chase after things that contradict those. We numb ourselves to the pain of others. We stop loving and stop caring. The sun then has gone dark. And the moon not shedding its light, that has to do with the faith, which is the ideas side of it. So if you're going to stop loving people and stop caring about their welfare and how your actions affect them, you want reasons and ideas that justify what you're doing. So you collect them to yourself and you reject any truth that might show you that this is not the way to be. So we blind ourselves to the sun, we blind ourselves to the moon. The stars mean insights into what is good and true, or into love and faith. People used to navigate by the stars. Say, oh, there's the North Star. I know I'm going this way. Oh, there's this constellation so I can sail across the ocean. They are these guiding lights. There are stars in your mind. There are insights that you follow that let you know that you're on course. When those fall to the earth, when those go from being spiritual and they serve love and truth and they're aspirational to being earthly or worldly, self-centered and materialistic, we're not going anywhere. We don't know where we're going. We're just blindly moving forward. That is the stars crashing to the earth. The sign of the Son of Humanity in heaven means the appearing of divine truth. And this is where there's a major turn, because it seemed like literally all the destruction and cataclysm was part and parcel with the arrival of God. It seems like everything's blowing up and Jesus is here and he must be part of this. But this is saying, in the internal sense, actually, suddenly now we're getting to where God is counteracting this destruction. Because the sign of the Son of Humanity means the appearing of divine truth. So when everything has gone wrong, when we are no longer accepting love, when humanity is no longer accepting the truth or the faith, God shows up in the appearing of divine truth. The wailing tribes of earth mean all the elements of what is true and good, or of faith and love. That's the part of us. It's the human race, the ways in which we suffer when we snuff out the love and truth in us, when we don't let the sun shine in our hearts and the moon shine in our minds. That is the wailing of the tribes of the earth. The Lord's coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory mean his presence in the word and revelation. The clouds refer to the literal meaning of the word, and the glory to the word's inner meaning. So God, when things are at the darkest, God shows up, and he shows up in the clouds with great glory. So the clouds are like that text we just read, where Jesus is saying, hey, all this stuff is going to happen. The sun is going to go dark. The moon is going to go dark too. The stars are going to fall. That's the cloud. There's something good in it. There's something important in it, but we can't really tell what it's saying. And people can, as I said, get these misguided opinions that it means there's a literal destruction of the world coming up. There is ambiguity in it. It's a cloud. But there is power and great glory shining through, because there is a truth inside that once we start to be able to read that and understand it, we start to see God for who God is. And God can retake this position of importance in us. That's what we're doing. Meta moment. We are doing that right now by looking into this and finding that inner meaning and seeing, rather than this cloudy, there's a God who's going to destroy the world, that doesn't seem very fair, to, there's a God who, whenever we reject love and faith, finds a way to try to wake us back up again and wake the human race up on a grand scale. Suddenly, we are meeting the Lord for who he actually is. And that's what's happening in this prophecy, is that within each one of us. The angels with a trumpet and a loud voice mean heaven, which is where divine truth comes from and comes directly into our minds should we open up to it. This enables us to see what these words of the Lord mean. They mean that at the end of the church, when there is no longer any love and therefore no longer any faith, the Lord will open the word by disclosing its deeper meaning and will reveal the heavenly contents hidden within it. The particular hidden contents to be disclosed in the pages that follow have to do with heaven and hell and with our own life after death. At the end of the church, first and foremost, is a state within each of us. We each have a church, which is our love and faith, in whatever form that takes. That can go dark, but then humanity collectively has these eras or these understandings of God and religion and spirituality called churches, and those can draw to a close. Swedenborg was very critical of the Christian churches of his time and seeing that there was hypocrisy in them and there was cruelty in them, and people weren't following the actual message of Jesus and who Jesus is. That can collapse, but when it does, God always opens a window. That door closes, God always opens a window. And this is Swedenborg saying, hey, everything that follows here, everything that I say about heaven and hell and all the things I've observed, this is all within the word. It's all just within the spiritual meaning. It's already there. I'm not just coming up with this. This is what's there. And so this God coming in the clouds of heaven is us getting this new understanding of who God is, that Jesus is the human God, and that God is about love and about truth and about everything that you would hope God would be about. So the next time when it seems like things are falling apart, maybe it's for you, or maybe you look out at the human race and you think, man, we're a mess. The sun's not shining. The moon is not shining on us. Just know that whenever that happens, God appears somewhere. And it's somewhere that if we're looking for it, we can open up and we can have this new beginning in us. And that's the news from heaven.